Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Wednesday devotional thought. We're going to finish the book of Acts today. Are y'all excited?
Yes!
Yeah, ready to be done with Acts. We're about to be done with July. I can't believe next week when we meet together, when we see each other, it'll be August. So the year is just flying by. We've been working our way, just kind of giving a devotional thought through Acts. Our theme is from Acts 5 and verse 31, that God exalted Jesus at His right hand as Lord and Savior to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins. So what I hope we've accomplished, one, is to give you some encouragement throughout the week, in the middle of the week, but I also hope that we've encouraged you to gather your family or somebody else together and at least just open up a couple of verses and read those scriptures and think about how those things apply to your real life in 2020. I hope that we've given you some courage to be able to do that so that we can be church at home and not just church at the building, because building is off limits right now. Hopefully church is infiltrated your home and you've been able to worship while you're at home. So Andy's got something here. Will you tell us what that is?
This is my truck.
One of your trucks. He's got half a dozen trucks.
Yeah. Well, not half a dozen. I don't have very many trucks. This is my biggest.
Do you need more trucks?
Oh, I got plenty of cars.
Plenty.
You know what? This is a truck. It's got a nice bed. You can haul things. You can move people around. You've got headlights so you can see at night. And what are these things down here that I'm spinning? Wheels. What is that on the wheel, Andy?
The black part.
What's the black part?
Traction. Do you hear?
The black thing. It's the tire.
Tires. What are tires for?
The tires are for moving the car.
The wheels move the car, but the tire adds some sort of traction. It adds a little buoyancy on it, or balance on the road.
Helps it roll.
Those are filled with air, and you have to fill them with so much air pressure so that they pump up. Have you ever gotten a flat tire?
No.
On your bike you have.
You have on your bike. I know you have. You've all had a flat tire at some point in your life. Almost every vehicle that I've ever had has gotten a flat tire at some point. Not the Dodge, but it's been low, but it hasn't been flat. Even your red car
We picked up a nail. It hasn't gone flat.
didn't go flat. Could have gone flat. It seems like almost every vehicle I've had at some point has gotten a flat tire. It happens. How do you get a flat tire, Andy?
When a nail or a sharp rock hits the tire and it falls out, all the air goes out and the truck or car starts to go slower.
So most of the time, most of the time you get a puncture in there from a nail or a piece of glass or a screw, and that puncture allows air to get out. It happens quite a bit, especially when there's so much construction out in Douglas County. You're fortunate if the tire goes flat when you're at home. Having a flat tire really is an inconvenience. Yes.
Why are those nails what's on the tire?
Those are the wheels. It's just real shiny wheels.
Helps the car go.
It's really nice to be able to change your tire at home and not out on a deserted road or not on a busy stretch of interstate. I've changed a tire once. It's not fun. It takes me about an hour or more, and usually with help. Usually it takes an hour for me to call somebody and get them out there to help me. That's how it goes. I hate it. I can't stand it because you got to get the little jack under the car. And you gotta turn the jack up because it's one of these mini jacks. But you take it to the discount tire place or wherever you get your tires fixed, and man, those guys can change a tire in 10 minutes. Or they can plug a hole in no time. And so really it's just easier to pay them to do it. In fact, some places don't even charge you to just fix a little hole. I'm thankful with our insurance, we have roadside assistance. So if a tire goes flat, or if we get out to the car in the parking lot and the tire's flat, we can just call the insurance and they'll send somebody out to fix it while we're out and about. So it really keeps us from having to do it because I'm not experienced with it. Why are flat tires bad, Zoe, Andy?
Because it lets all the air out.
Yeah, there's no air in the tire and you can't do what, Zoe?
Not go.
You cannot go. You can't drive a flat tired car, can you?
Yeah.
Not supposed to.
Not supposed to.
Don't.
What if there's no traction?
Yeah, if your tires are bald, you end up sliding off, or your tire can, wear down enough to where you just end up ruining your tire and your wheel. But it happens, and because it happens, we've always got a spare. Usually under here, underneath the trunk here, or somewhere else is where the spare is. So we expect those things, or at least we are always prepared. A flat tire is a good example of what a setback is.
Why does a truck have that on it?
Let's listen to Daniel, okay? What's a setback? Do you know what a setback is?
Do you know what a setback is?
No?
So if you want a setback, if you want to get in the car and go, if we were going to go on a trip to Helen, Georgia, and we get in the car to go, and we all get packed up and go, and then we find out the driver's side rear tire is flat, that's set us back, hasn't it?
Interruption.
It's an interruption. It's going to take us another hour to get on the road because now we've got to fix a flat tire. And so what do you do? Oh man, we get so upset. We were looking forward to leaving at 2 o'clock. Now we're going to be pushed back to 3. It's usually a pain to deal with. Even if you have tools or a fix-a-flat or roadside assistance, it just adds one more step to your journey. And so if you have a flat tire, it sets you back from going where you want to go. Because you can't drive out on a flat tire, you got to now take the extra step to get it fixed. The Apostle Paul, who used to be, do you remember his name?
Saul?
Who used to be Saul, had a few flat tires in his life. He had several flat tire setbacks in his ministry. It seemed like as you can read the last part of the book of Acts, it seems like every time he turned around, he had to stop to fix a flat tire. He had some kind of setback. But how did Paul feel when he had a setback? Do you know?
He felt angry at himself.
Was he angry and upset? Did he kick and scream and pout?
He trusted God.
He didn't get frustrated. Paul didn't get frustrated when he had flat tires and had setbacks. He trusted God. He did not get frustrated. In fact, he saw those setbacks, those flat tires, as a good thing. Now, why would setbacks and why would flat tires be a good thing?
Because you can always, call God, and you can call God like you're calling some people who can fix your tire.
So maybe it's a chance for us to call God. If a lot of us only call God when there's problems, hey, when there's a problem, we know for sure that we're going to call on God, and that's a good thing. Paul used those setbacks as an opportunity to preach the gospel and to share the message about Jesus Christ. Paul had a lot of things that he could have been upset over. He didn't complain about his added travel plans because instead of seeing these things as setbacks, what Paul saw is that God was directing his path. God intended these setbacks to give Paul an opportunity to preach and be a minister. And so for Paul, there were no setbacks. There weren't any detours having to get off the main road because every place Paul stopped is exactly where God wanted him to be. Do you know what kind of setbacks Paul had? Can you think of any, Andy? Zoe?
I think some setbacks.
He had
I don't know. I think Paul had some setbacks when he disobeyed God and
Okay.
he wanted to obey God, but on accident he disobeyed God, and I think that's kind of like a setback.
Can you imagine Saul of Tarsus' major setback was meant to get him right back on track? What a blessing that he had that kind of setback where he realized he was going the wrong way. He talks about this in the New Testament. He was hungry, he was left out, had to camp out in the cold rain.
People didn't like him.
Nobody liked him. Why does nobody like me? You know, he was shipwrecked. He got bit by a snake one time. And it didn't hurt him. He multiple times had been thrown in jail. He'd been summoned to court. And Paul had all these things try to set him back, and he just really adjusted very well to all of his setbacks. Paul was arrested for, it seemed like whenever Paul went somewhere to preach or to be a missionary, it seemed like he would stir up a lot of trouble because a lot of people didn't like what he preached, and they would just protest and they would mob where Paul was and his team. And so there were all kinds of military officers and city leaders that would meet with King Agrippa. And Paul got thrown in jail and then called to testify in front of Agrippa. Listen to this passage from Acts 26. This is Acts 26, beginning in verse 24. Paul is in court. He's answering Festus. And look how he uses this opportunity in the court to share the gospel. Festus shouted, "Paul, you are insane. Too much study has made you crazy." But Paul replied, "I am not insane, most excellent Festus. What I am saying is the sober truth, and King Agrippa knows about these things. I speak boldly, for I am sure these events are familiar to him, for they were not done in a corner." King Agrippa, "Do you believe the prophets?" "I know you do." Agrippa interrupted him. "Do you think you can persuade me to become a Christian so quickly?" Paul replied, "Whether quickly or not, I pray to God that both of you and everyone here in this audience might become the same as I am, except for these chains." And so when Paul is called to court to give his defense before Agrippa and Festus, he actually tries to convert the court to Christianity. He turns the court into a church service where he's had this setback and now he's trying to preach Jesus Christ and explain how he feels the way he feels. He didn't use this courtroom to lodge a formal complaint against the government. He didn't talk about how his rights were being taken away. Paul used this opportunity to preach about Jesus. I love that. I think we need to take more opportunities like that. Paul had a lot of setbacks, and every time Paul used those setbacks to glorify Jesus because he knew those setbacks were really God giving Paul one more opportunity to do good. And so when we have setbacks, when we have failed plans, when we have a diagnosis that doesn't go quite the right way, when we have something else that's coming our way, when we have another flat tire, when we have those setbacks, how are we using those setbacks? Are we using those setbacks as an opportunity to complain, to feel sorry for ourselves, to start blaming other people? Or are we using those opportunities for God to do great things in our lives? Yes.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
So, the next time you have a flat tire, call God.
How about let's call God. Let's talk to God first whenever we have any kind of setback. I
That's
think
a really good point.
that's good advice. Thank you.
Very good advice.
So you need to pray this week and finish the book of Acts. I think we finished somewhere in chapter 21 last week. Read through chapter 28. Just go ahead and finish the book of Acts, and then we'll move on to something else. But I've enjoyed this time with our family, doing a devotional. I hope it's helped you in more ways than one. Just a few announcements. We have a birthday coming up the next week. Carol Stevens' birthday is on the 1st.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Saturday.
Saturday.
This upcoming Saturday. It's
Wow.
August 1st.
Yeah, it's just a couple of days from now. Carol Stevens. Also, Brian and Tammy Hood have their anniversary on that day as well, on Saturday, August 1st. Happy anniversary to you guys. Happy birthday, Carol. Yes, Sally.
Why do nice horses let people ride them?
We can talk about that later.
Yeah, if you can answer Zoe's horse questions, please comment down below. How come nice horses allow people to ride them?
That's a good
If you can answer that and put that in the comments, we'll pass that along to Zoe. Also, this week, pray for Charles Settle. Talked to Marie yesterday, and he's back in the hospital. So we really are. She's worried about him, and we're concerned as well. Of course, he was diagnosed positive for having coronavirus. So pray for Charles Settle. Also, Iris Sparks has had a couple or a few mini strokes.